there's a lot more people waking up right now. And I think it is up to us, the people on the ground, the real people, the grassroots, to keep sharing this information, because whatever else we've got coming, digital ID and, the end your life thing and all these other horrific things that are going on at the moment, the evidence we've got blows everything out the water if we could push this to the forefront, because it truly would take down the entire establishment.
Coming up on the show, former police officer John Porter joins us from Scotland to discuss his 7-step critical thinking framework. But first, Katherine McBean is an independent researcher working with Ethical Approach, and collaborators Ian Clayton, Mark Sexton and Philip Hyland. Together, they are investigating and exposing what they refer to as Operation Talla. Katherine focuses on transparency, civil liberties and uncovering information she believes has not been adequately scrutinised or publicly examined. Katherine, thank you so much for joining us. What is Operation Talla? It's something I've seen quite a lot of on social media over the last couple of weeks. What is it and why do you believe it's so important to expose it?
Hello, Gareth. Thank you for having me on. So Operation Talla, on the surface of it, if you looked at it as just a regular person, which most people didn't because it wasn't really put out to the public realm, it very much was considered to be coordinating policy, interpreting emergency regulations, enforcement, communications and operational guidance across all of the UK police forces. What we have since found out was actually there was a lot more going on than would certainly be looked at the surface level. So a lady called Moira Brown put out a video some time ago, and it was her trying to pass evidence of COVID crimes over to the police in Scotland. And this was recorded, and Ian Clayton spotted this video at the beginning of 2025. And within that video, what I think is a PC, I believe he's a constable. What he said was, no, we cannot take your evidence. We cannot take your report as per directive from Alan Spears from Police Scotland. And it turns out this was part of Operation Talla. So what basically was happening was a directive went out from the head of the NPCC, which is the National Police Chiefs Council, at the beginning of 2020. And this was a gentleman called Martin Hewitt at the time, and we've been able to track it back to him so far, but I'm in no doubt it will go above him, and that is yet to we're fully yet to get evidence on that, so we're sort of looking at that now. But interestingly, it's worth noting that Martin Hewitt, who was the chief at the NPCC at the time, is now the UK Border Force Commander. Just going to pop that in there because I think that is quite interesting that he's now in that role. So basically, the police were given a directive to not take any reports, witness statements or evidence related to COVID or the COVID jab. And in terms of documents we've got to support this, we've got sworn testimony from senior police leadership, there's FOI disclosures, we've got copies of internal directives that they've sent us. Somebody in there may be working on our side, let's put it that way, because otherwise it's bonkers that we've received this information. There's obviously publicly available video evidence such as Moira Brown, and we can prove that by not accepting witness statements, evidence, reports of a crime, that the statutory duties have been broken under the Criminal and Procedure Investigations Act 1996. Now, this is all incredibly important because what it shows is that crimes were committed by the police, and then we've now been able to track back into the judiciary, and we think we're going to be able to take that further as well, because it goes from a policing issue to a constitutional crisis issue. But we can prove that certain crimes have been committed. And I think this is why this revelation and what we're doing right now is so important, because all of it is evidenced. So the lead investigator throughout has been Ian Clayton. He has worked all the hours God sends, and he still is, because we're not done yet. And I have got some breaking news to share shortly, and we will keep going. But what this does is it completely decimates our rights, And if we boil it back to a very, very important point, it begs the question, if the police had done their job and we had scientists and doctors with witness statements and evidence to suggest that there are real genuine concerns about these jabs, and these were pushed away, one of the ways the police were doing this was by saying, actually, no, we've already got a crime reference number open on this one. Now, I think people are aware, a lot of people are aware, that Philip Hyland, Mark Sexton, Dr. Sam White and Lois Bayliss in December of 21 went to Hammersmith to report COVID crimes, to bring evidence and witness statements. And a crime reference number was generated at that point. That's the only one we can find throughout. And I'll just put the number out there in case anyone wants to check it. CRN 6029679/21. And I think a lot of us are aware of that. And over the following weeks, we know of over 400 witness and expert statements were submitted. And officers would confirm that the case was an active investigation. Now, we know a little later on they shut that down. They shut that investigation down. But what they were doing was still using that as an excuse. So when people tried to bring evidence, tried to bring witness statements, tried to report the crime, as we know so many of us did, and I imagine there are thousands, actually, there are thousands of incidences like this, and they'd say, no, don't worry, we were not going to accept this. We've already got a crime number open. We're already investigating this. We do not need to accept more evidence, more reports, more witness statements. Thank you very much. Go away. Now, I want to drop something related to this into the mix, which is kind of breaking news. We tentatively posted something about it a couple of months ago, but I wanted to wait until we had something more substantial to really get loud about this. And what people take from this is down to them. So I'm going to read it out, if you don't mind, because I want to make sure we are very precise in the information we're giving the public. So one element of the Spears Directive, so this was the Alan Spears Directive, he was from Police Scotland, that he put out, and this is what we have copies and evidence of, so we know we're absolutely correct with this information. One element of the Spears Directives that deserves public attention is what it says about data logging under Operations Norden and Tala. And if anyone's new to the terminology of Operation Norden, that was just the Scottish version of Operation Talla, and they all got absorbed under Tala. The directive explicitly instructs officers to reject certain vaccine-related requests for police assistance. But at the same time, it tells them to log those encounters not as crimes, but as intelligence and COVID operation data. Specifically, officers are told to create entries on the Scottish Intelligence Database for the attention of Operation Norden and to submit COVID intervention records to inform Operation Talla. So this matters because those systems are not ordinary crime recording systems. The SID is an intelligence database, and CVI records were designed to capture COVID-related encounters and operational activity, not criminal investigations. And you'll see why this is very important. So what we see here is a clear structural choice. Members of the public believe they are reporting serious wrongdoing, but policing responds by rejecting the report as a service response, while still capturing the encounter internally through intelligence and operational logging. And this mirrors Operation Talla. So basically, a nationally coordinated posture where information is gathered and shared within command structures, but without the normal transparency, recording duties, and investigative safeguards which apply once a crime is formally recorded. So we can safely say the directive shows that these encounters were not actually ignored. They were deliberately redirected away from crime recording and into intelligence and COVID operations systems. So now we cannot establish yet from the directive alone what data was captured, how it was retained, or how widely it was shared. Nor does the evidence allow us to infer motive or intent formally, but it does establish a documented UK-wide operational approach in which serious public allegations were rejected as crimes while still being logged internally under these operations. The structural choices raise legitimate questions about transparency, accountability, and compliance with ordinary policing duties. Now, what this infers is basically if you went to report a crime or what you believe to be a crime, whether you submitted evidence, whether you tried to submit evidence or witness statements, they did not record it through the usual routes, and they would not put it down as a report of a crime. What they were doing was logging who you were and what you were trying to do, and they put you onto a separate database linked to intelligence. Now, this is quite big news, because whilst we really couldn't formally infer what they were doing with this information, where this information was going, and whether this would ever be used against us in some form, we can't officially confirm that. But the fact that they did this, and we know this through the evidence that we've received from them, what does that suggest to you, Gareth? What does that say to you that is happening to us and our rights, where we should be able to report a crime, but in fact our own details are being kept on a separate database? For what purpose?
Oh, exactly. I mean, the whole idea that, I guess, if you're going to report a crime, then they're going to have to try and investigate it or pretend to investigate it and then cover it up. So I suppose by not just not accepting the report is one way to avoid all of that faffing in court. But you're absolutely right. It sounds to me that it's just basically a case of, we're not going to accept the crime because we're obviously not going to charge the people that are guilty, but what we are going to do is keep tabs on you from now on and make a note of who you are. What the motive is behind that, I don't know. Potentially, I suppose the motive could be further down the line to discredit you and to investigate you and get compromat on you, or have you ever fiddled your taxes, or have you ever claimed benefits you shouldn't have claimed, or whatever, you know what I mean, to discredit those people that are coming forward. In terms of this information, Katherine, obviously you're getting this information, directly from the horse's mouth, essentially. How is it you're doing it? Is it all through freedom of information requests, or is there other elements to this? Without, telling them how you're doing it. I suppose I'm just thinking, you don't want to give away too much. Let them know how you're fighting.
No, that's fine. I mean, this is the thing. We very much said from the start, we're going to be utterly transparent. We have to be the opposite of what they are. And of course, we've had no transparency, forever, if we're honest. But so what we've got that we can put public is out there. So copies of the Freedom of Information requests that have been put out there, the responses to those Freedom of Information requests. Ian Clayton has absolutely gone for it. He's dealing directly, trying to get through to the Ministry of Justice, through to all the other elements and the Home Office and so forth. I mean, some of the correspondence has been incredible, and he's putting it out there bit by bit publicly for everyone to see. Now, I would like to think there's somebody there who's a good person, and because either that or they're really stupid, because they've sometimes sent us back information and evidence and supporting documentation that actually serves them not well. They don't come out looking good on it, and it's taken somebody with legal training and Ian, in his past, had done a lot of forensic work. So he's ideally placed to be able to challenge them and understand the law enough to say, no, you're going to get away with that and you don't get to do this. So he's been having back and forth correspondence as much as he possibly can. Obviously, they're ignoring him to some degree, but they've reached a desperate point when he's contacting, it was the Lady Chief Justice. I mean, this will make you laugh, Gareth. The Lady Chief Justice, David Lammy, the Metropolitan Police. He's contacted all of them, and he was contacting them based on it being a constitutional crisis, very highly much a constitutional crisis. And he brought together all of the evidence he's got, and he explained it and it went out to, like I say, all of these offices, the Lady Chief Justice, and so forth. And interestingly, he didn't include the Home Office, but the Home Office came back and responded on the behalf of the MOJ, which was interesting. And their response to the fact that Ian was asking them about crimes committed by the police and constitutional crisis, and their response, because they're so desperate and they don't know what else to do with us, was to suggest that he went to the Citizens Advice Bureau. If that doesn't tell you that they're desperate and cornered and don't quite know what to do with us, I don't know what else will.
I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're very much aware of the growing surveillance state emerging all around us. Whatever you do, you're being watched and your data being harvested. This is why Glenn and Eric Mader formed the Privacy Academy. Join the community designed to help overwhelmed, non-techie people like me learn how to get private online. Head over to privacyacademy.com/Ike and learn how to exit the surveillance state with regular webinars exclusively for you. Now, back to the show. Have the media just ignored this, Catherine? Because I'm thinking, if you look at this on the face of it, you know, pretend I'm coming in naively, this is a national story, it's a front page story, where thousands of people have attempted to report a crime and the police have been instructed to ignore those crimes whilst keeping tabs on all those people. In a sane world, which of course we're not in, but if we were, that is front page breaking news.
It's not only the mainstream media, Gareth, which I think none of us are remotely shocked that they want nothing to do with this, and this has been alerted to them. So it's not like it's not on their radar. We've made sure of that. What is interesting is the response from new media, if you like, let's call it new media. You know, they have not only some of them ignored, well, all of them ignored us bar one, but the response we've had back from them has been incredibly brash, and they don't want to touch it. Now, I don't know if that is because it's so hot. I don't know if that's an Ofcom issue, potentially. Let's face it. I mean, we're now working on being able to tie some of the regulators into this. That will be the next big thing that comes out. It goes beyond the police and the judiciary. But yeah, they haven't want to know. And I think it might be because it's Ofcom. It might be because it's too big. It might be purely an ego situation. We really don't know with these people. But it's very disappointing when, you know, the People's Channel, the People's Network and other such organizations who claims to be here for the people actually clearly aren't. And something that I found really exciting about this is because the grassroots have gripped this. The grassroots understand the enormity of this. And we, the people, understand the need to get this out there. And this is why I'm so grateful to people like yourself and Sonia Poulton and UNN and others I've got interviews lined up with, because you're very kindly giving me a voice and a platform to share this information. This is protecting the organizations of one of the biggest crimes ever committed against the people of this country, against the people of the world. And as a result of that, we are seeing that it really is coming down to we, the people, to spread the word. Now, the next question often is going to be, well, where do we go from here? If we're proving, which we are very clearly, that the police, the judiciary and the government were tied up in this, and let's face it, those of us who've been at this for a long time can see beyond just those three elements as well as being involved with this or being trapped into this. Where do we go from here? Where do we, the people, go from here? I mean, from our point of view right now, the best we can do is exposure and keep applying the pressure and keep exposing them. But it does beg the question, what comes next if we can't lean into those organizations that are supposed to be here to protect us and to bring justice? Whilst a load of us have known for years they're absolutely corrupt, actually there's a lot more people waking up right now. And I think it is up to us, the people on the ground, the real people, the grassroots, to keep sharing this information, because whatever else we've got coming, digital ID and, you know, the End Your Life thing and all these other horrific things that are going on at the moment, the evidence we've got blows everything out the water if we could push this to the forefront, because it truly would take down the entire establishment. I mean, I'm not joking. We could end the entire establishment with the evidence that we've got and the information that we've got. But where do we go from here, outside of we the people and the grassroots, because there is no justice left. And actually what is needed is justice. And I think more and more people each day are waking up to this, Gareth, and seeing that actually we are cornered. If we want to go down that lawful route, which is what we would all prefer to choose to do if we could, but where do we go from here? No,
you're right. What do I find mad? It's like, I understand why the mainstream media aren't touching this stuff, because, do you know what I mean, they're in the pocket, that they are an arm of the state. I get that. But the alternative media, do you know, if you're an alternative journalist, or you call yourself an alternative journalist, and you find a story too hot, what are you doing? Like, well, why are you doing it? Like, what's the point? Like, because I see this all the time, and people won't talk about certain things, and you're like, go away then, to be honest.
I think a lot of it is self-preservation, Gareth. And actually, I would suggest this is a time in human history when it's a time for courage. It's a kind of time for not being selfish. This isn't about you as an individual. This is about our country. This is about the world, if you look at the bigger picture of it, and our children and our children's children. And actually, this is not a time for self-preservation. This is not a time just to protect your career, to protect your big account or whatever ridiculous excuse they have. This is a time for bravery. This is a time for transparency and honesty, and a time for justice. And it's a time for we the people to sensibly use our power to push back against this. But if you're out there and you're a journalist, I don't care who you work for, I don't care who your boss is, I don't care what they tell you. If they're stopping you from breaking a story that could actually absolutely revolutionize the thinking of the people of this country and actually reveal the biggest truth that we have got at the moment, then surely you've got a moral and ethical responsibility to step up and do that. And unfortunately, they don't seem to want to do that. The good news is, though, people are seeing it. The veil is lifting. So we've known for a long time there's infiltration on our side of the movement. We've known for a long time who a number of those people might well be. And actually what they're doing right now is exposing themselves. So where is the truth? And I think I said this to you earlier. People might not necessarily like the truth, but we need the truth irrelevant. And at the moment, people are showing their true colours.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, what was it, the Winston Churchill quote? An appeaser is one that feeds the crocodile in the hope that it'll eat him last. And I think that if you're trying to preserve your career or your audience or your algorithmic support, mate, it's far too late for that. Just finally, Katherine, with like the way that the world is at the minute, and obviously free speech and censorship and digital ID and all these things all coming at once, and as you say, the assisted dying bill as well. In the last few days, obviously, we've had another terrorist attack, this time in Australia. On the subject of people waking up, I'm seeing constantly people are going, hang on, this doesn't add up. People are asking questions. What's your take on it? Because from what I've seen, the reaction to it across the board has been, we need more censorship.
Okay, I'm just going to take my ethical approach hat off here because Katherine McBean is a far more radical thinker, I think, and maybe some of my views might be a bit more extreme. So I'm not going to speak on behalf of anyone at Ethical Approach when I say this. I immediately, and I mean immediately, as soon as I saw that story, jumped to certain conclusions, and I still think it's going to be proven right. It's however horrific and people are dying, it's what I still consider to be a false flag event. And unfortunately, it's the innocent that always get caught up in these things, isn't it? Now, I think the truth be told, there is one element across this world whose fingers are into everything, are involved with everything. And I think we will find the truth come out about this. There obviously, I believe, the incident occurred in order to be able to have a good reason to ask for greater restrictions in people's freedom of speech. And we've seen them now trying to push an anti-Semitism hardcore approach to those that would say something negative potentially about the Israeli government or the Israeli military and so forth. Now, some will call me a pessimist, but I think that now a lot of us have great pattern recognition skills, and I don't think it takes much to see those patterns now. This won't be the first time something like this, I believe, has occurred in order to restrict speech further. And that might sound callous and it might sound cruel, but actually understanding how these people work, I'm afraid it looks like a reality for me, because immediately we have people come out on TVs. There was a rabbi gentleman, I believe, on mainstream last night, suggesting that the UK government should enforce greater restrictions on our speech if anybody broaches near anything close to what anti-Semitism is. And it's very interesting that the term anti-Semitism, what that means, keeps changing to suit a narrative. I'm afraid I'm just not on board with any of that. And I unfortunately feel this may not be the last time it's done. As an animal becomes cornered, it becomes more and more dangerous. And we are seeing a noticing and an awakening on this topic matter that I've never seen before and I've wanted to see happen for decades. So unfortunately, a lot of people died, but as a result, people are starting to see why these things happen, who's engineering it, and what they want to be the outcome. And I do believe that will be attempts to restrict our speech further.
Absolutely. And almost certainly attempts to blame Iran, which they've already tried to to get consent for that. Katherine, where can people find you and read more about, obviously, the work that you and Ethical Approach have been doing on this major story?
Yeah, no, thank you. So the best place to go is to the Ethical Approach website. Just put Ethical Approach into Google. It will take you straight there, or whatever your search engine is. Go and have a look through. All the papers and documents are on there. We do have some we're holding back at the moment. We don't want to show all our hands straight away. And there's certain things that we're still working on. And as we get conclusive evidence and finalisation on each section, it will be thrown out for the public. So please do go to the Ethical Approach website. Keep an eye on Ethical Approach, predominantly on X, but things are shared elsewhere. And please get sharing. What we'll also be doing, just for a heads up, we're putting together a media pack at the moment for the grassroots out there, for all the thousands of little podcasters out there. Don't think just because you've got a few hundred followers, you can't have an impact. You absolutely can. We will be getting that out hopefully in the new year. So people can do their own podcasts, people can spread the word. This truly is a time for the grassroots, for we the people to stand up and play our part, do what we can do. And if it is down to us to get the message out there of the truth of what is happening, then so be it. We are incredibly powerful. There are many more of us than them. And even if the alternative media doesn't want to touch it, we're still going to push this because it is the truth.
Absolutely. Catherine, thanks so much for joining us. I can't wait to see, obviously, what more information you've got. And it would be great to speak to you again, further down the line when more revelations come out, as I'm sure they absolutely will.
Brilliant. No, thank you so much for having me.
That's all for the free section of this week's Garethite Tonight. To watch the rest of the show, you can head over to iconic.com, where I'm joined by John Porter. John, also known as Sergeant Grumpy, is a former police officer with over 20 years of frontline law enforcement experience. Since leaving the force, he's become an independent communicator and researcher, focusing on truth-seeking, institutional accountability, and media narratives.
That's where you need to dig into things, because not everything's black and white. It really isn't. There are always shades of grey. And even when people and governments and police and institutions like the NHS, whatever, even when they make mistakes, it's not necessarily because that they were told to do something. It's maybe they just made a mistake.
Please click the link in the description and head over to iconic.com to continue watching. You can subscribe instantly for just £1.99. Good night.